year the Leafs have at least one 10 o'clock game that makes you say, I stayed up for that? Well, look at it this way. They got it out of the way. Yeah. When's the next game? Thursday at 10:30. That's even later. It is. Let's go! Give me what I want! Kick down the door! Drew, you are not doing this! Not nice! There's a giant head! You hear yourself? I made like 2,000 of these. I'd like to have fun. With you wherever you are, welcome to LFR. Well, producer Drew, I don't think I'm going to make you put a ton of editing into this one because Leafs lose 3-1 to the Vegas Golden Knights in a stinker. That was an awful game. One of the things I did prepare for this video is a myriad of stats that show just how bad this game was. You could say worst loss of the season because they were genuinely outclassed by Vegas, and this is the first time all season they've been truly outclassed. But I think the big difference between this game and the loss to Arizona, for example, is Vegas is good. I know I keep bringing up the Arizona game, it keeps lingering like a bad smell, but I'm going to point out their only win on the season is still against the Leafs, and in 5 games, they have a negative 13 goal differential! How is that a thing? Before we talk about that game that will haunt my nightmares while also preventing me from sleeping, want to bet? You can do it at Sports Interaction, Canada's sportsbook. Did you know Phil Kessel would get a point against his former team in a milestone game? Of course he did. Maybe you're really smart and you thought Michael Amadio would score, and you'd be right also. He was a Leaf, yeah, for like 5 seconds, but he was a Leaf. Well, you can bet pregame, live, and player on one of their many prop bets made for Canadians by Canadians. Sports Interaction makes it easy to deposit, play, and cash out. Join now and see all sports betting has to offer. Visit sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. That's sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. It's 19 plus, Ontario only. Please play responsibly. Anyway, from James Myrtle, Leafs generate just 38.6% of the expected goals at even strength tonight. Not going to get it done. This one is much more concerning. From Cam Sharon, welcome back to Leafs Twitter there, Cam. Not the ugliest hockey game I've ever seen, but it was close. Full recap tomorrow morning. If you're like, hey, I know that name. Yeah, it's because Cam and I used to work at theleafsnation.com together. He also wrote for Canucks Army. He is one of the many Canucks Army alumni to be hired by an NHL team. And the NHL team that Cam was hired by was the Toronto Maple Leafs. And it was some years ago, and he worked for them for a number of years. And now he's here on Twitter explaining how bad the Leafs were in this game, and I'm just so concerned. A lot of people were dumping on Justin Holl in this one, and well, he did fall while skating backwards. 2 things I'll say about that. 1, Brett Kulak has already done that twice, and 2, shots were 11-0 Vegas at 5-on-5 with Morgan Rielly on the ice tonight. A forgettable night to say the least, and then Rinkrat Report jumps in and says Natural Stat Trick is saying it was actually 13-0 for Rielly. And this is becoming a theme for the Leafs this season. If you take out the first 5 minutes of each period, they looked fine. But this team is regularly not showing up to play. They are not arriving to the bench and then walking out onto the ice surface and doing a little twirl and then lining up to the faceoff. They are not doing it prepared at all. And usually I would say that is a head coaching problem, and it is, but they showed Sheldon Keefe's record with the Leafs on the broadcast tonight. Did you happen to see it? The Leafs are like 120-55. Listen, I understand frustration with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Believe me, I really do. It's kind of my life. But at the same time, what is firing that guy gonna do for this team? Oh, is another coach gonna get them motivated and get them playing and get them skating? He knows the problem. He can't beat it out of these guys, and they're in a cap situation that just doesn't allow them to make big sweeping changes during the season, which brings us to, can we finally admit Kyle Dubas built a flawed roster? Listen, there are some things that Kyle Dubas deserves credit for. In fact, one of them is Ilya Samsonov. I cannot believe that contract. I can't believe he was ever available, and I cannot believe how good he's been at 25 years old. Is Washington okay? I can't believe they allowed that. And, I mean, here's the good news. You're not going to be great 82 games out of 82. We talk about how you're not going to win all 82 games. You're not even going to play well in all 82 games. But it was the beginning of the third period. Leafs are getting grossly outplayed by Vegas, and this thing is tied. So Ilya Samsonov gave them a chance to win this game. And what he showed in this one is he can help keep the Leafs in games they don't deserve to be in, which we didn't know if that would be the case when the season began with either goalie, with Murray or Samsonov. But I think the flaw in the roster comes down to a couple things. One, I don't really think the defense has been adequate enough, but like Muzzin's out of the lineup, Liljegren's been out of the lineup. Those are two major injuries. That's like your second pair. So I understand that. And the Leafs have more defensive depth than they have had in previous years. That's not the part I'm the most worried about. This kind of captures it well, and this person didn't even wait for me to ask for questions on Twitter, but they nailed it. What exactly does the Engvall, Kerfoot, Yarncroke line bring to this team? Dude, Engvall's not playing his best hockey. We all know that. But playing his best hockey, he's an extremely effective player. Kerfoot is a fun little utility belt guy who can do all sorts of things for you. Not spectacularly well, but he can do them. And Calle Yarncroke is just Mr. Dependable, who you can put into all sorts of situations. Shut down line into a more offensive role. Second power play on the penalty kill. He can do everything and play a little bit of center, which we might need, and we'll get to that later. Individually, I think those guys are all helpful and can help you win games. As a unit, boo! They stink! Best case scenario when those guys are out there is nothing happens. I think they had one scoring chance for and a bunch of busy nothing. That's that line in a nutshell. And this goes back to what I was saying about David Kampf on the fourth line. This has nothing to do with Wayne Simmons. This has nothing to do with Kyle Clifford. David Kampf last year was like the Engvall whisperer. And him with that guy, they made beautiful music together. And I'm just imagining a third line of Engvall, Kampf, and Yarncroke. That's a shutdown line with speed and tenacity, like forechecking tenacity. I don't think they're going to beat you up at all. But they can win puck battles. They can beat you to the puck. They can score every now and then. And they're going to be responsible in their own end. In short, that line would be a thing, whereas the current third line is just a collection of guys. We put a lot of discussion into the fourth line over the last few days, and Simmons and Clifford obviously had their purpose in the Jets game, and they had some moments here in the Vegas game, but at the end of the day, if your third line is no good, it doesn't really matter about your fourth line. As good as Simmons and Clifford were against the Jets, I think it would have been nice to have Aubé-Kubel in this one because Vegas skated the Leafs into the dirt. And one thing we know Aubé-Kubel can do, even when he's not playing well, is skate. And I might have had Zach Aston-Reese in the lineup for that exact same reason. Then you could have had something along the lines of Engvall and Kampf and Yarncroke, and then Zach Aston-Reese with Kerfoot and Aubé-Kubel. That is a fast line that can take on Vegas and skate with them. Oh, really? You're going to put Kerfoot and his $3.5 million on the fourth line? I don't care what you call the line. You can have two third lines. They can both be the 3.5 line. I don't care, but that's a solid bottom six against a team like Vegas. We're all talking about Austin Matthews and the chances he's getting and the fact that they're not going in. They're gonna go in. Robertson's starting to play well. That's great news. Willie had a great goal in this one. That's great news. Tavares looked great and got hurt, but he came back and that's great news. But it's going to be real hard for that top six to generate chances and bury those chances when the bottom six is just a random amalgamation of men. This is the beginning of the season. You don't necessarily have to have the answers right away, but whatever they got going on, this ain't it. From Sheldon Keefe, we just got beat by a team that was better than us tonight in all facets. Ain't it the truth, Sheldon? Ain't it the truth? The Vegas Golden Knights were far better than the Toronto Maple Leafs in this one. Logan Thompson made some amazing saves. There was one against Matthews. I couldn't believe the puck stayed out. But Samsonov, every shot he faced felt like a scoring chance. He was put in an impossible position, and he almost stole one. There was a moment that sort of got gift in this one of Sheldon Keefe, and you can see him on camera on the broadcast. We need to bleep and skate! The Leafs organization are very clear communicators with their players because they tell them exactly what they want. And now for the second consecutive season, the Leafs have told their own players, this is what we want you to play like in the seventh game of the season. that they lost to a better opponent. Last year, the Leafs referred to the Carolina Hurricanes as the standard of the National Hockey League because in the regular season, on paper, yeah, they're kind of the standard, man. That's a sick team. They beat the Canucks tonight. All right, that's not the greatest example, but you know what I mean. And people don't really remember that moment from last season because it was the game after the Leafs lost 7-1 to Pittsburgh. That was the embarrassing one. That was last season's Arizona game, if you will. Then the next game is their first game against Freddie Anderson, and they get walked over by a team that the Leafs organization holds up on a pedestal. A team that the Leafs organization holds to be the standard that they strive to. And now this year, we got the Vegas Golden Knights, and they didn't quite give them the same praise, but they did say that they were better at very least in this game. What does Vegas do well? Well, they cover their own end. They're hard on pucks, they forecheck really hard, and they skate you into the earth. What the Leafs are asking for from their players is not remarkably complicated. So here's the mission now, all right? Here's the mission. You have 2 days off, Tuesday, Wednesday. I don't know, they're probably going to skate, they're probably going to practice. You're not going to play any games. The next 48 hours need to be the Leafs imagining beating the San Jose Sharks so badly, skating them so deeply into the foundation of their own building that they consider moving to Quebec after trading James Reimer to the Leafs. What? A statement game is what this team badly needs. A real rub your opponent's face in it kind of game. And a moment in this game that gave me hope for the next game, it actually gave me hope that they could potentially get back and tie this thing up. This thing that, Michael Amadio with the insurance marker? Are you kidding? Anyway, a thing that gave me hope, John Tavares returning to this game. Now, I was terrified. Rasmus Sandin's shot, it's a really hard shot. John Tavares is battling in front. He looked great all night. He set up the Leafs' only goal of this game. He takes a shot right off of either the side or the back of the knee, somewhere where there's not exactly the most padding. Now, right away, the way he was flailing around the ice like a fish, you could tell something's wrong, but something's wrong in a way that is not normal. Like there's no Peter Griffin Family Guy. Like he can't move. Something's the matter. Now I delayed shooting this video because I was looking for like an official update. Tavares didn't speak to the media after the game. It doesn't look like they're gonna say anything about him just yet. And that makes sense. Here's what Sheldon Keefe had to say after the game. Sheldon Keefe says he hasn't heard an assessment of John Tavares' knee. Those are the kinds of things that just take a little time to settle down. Mitch Marner calls Tavares a warrior. Tavares did not speak post-game. First of all, bless Sheldon Keefe. That's him making something up. He had to make it up because he was asked. He's just guessing like the rest of us. And speaking of guessing, I had a guess. There's a doctor on YouTube, and I've highlighted his channel before. He is Brian Suterer, MD, Sutterer. There was a video of his that I watched about an incident that happened in the UFC, and it was the first thing I thought of when I saw John Tavares down on the ice. It's called Jimmy Crute Brutal Foot Drop from Calf Kick. Doctor explains UFC 261 injury. Obviously, I'm not going to use his clip. You can go and watch it yourself. But basically what happened is a UFC fighter got kicked right around the exact same area that John Tavares got hit by this puck. And leg kick from a UFC fighter, slap shot to the back of the leg with a puck. Yeah, I can imagine both would hurt a lot. And what happened in the case of the kick is something that I had never heard of before called foot drop. And basically, you have impact to the nerves back there. Like, I'm not doing the greatest job explaining it. This is why you need to go and watch the video. But you get kicked to the back of the leg. There are nerves back there. And it essentially temporarily shuts your foot off. The human body is terrifying. I didn't know that was a thing. So the fact that Tavares can be writhing in pain and can't get up on his own power and has to be helped off the ice and then returns to the game not long after, I think that might be what happened. People were talking about, oh, it's a stinger. It's a sting. What does that mean? It hurts? I never understand what people mean when they say a stinger. Like, it just hurts? Is that what that means? Whatever it was, it didn't tickle, but it was amazing. Just from a presence perspective that Tavares returned to the game. Now, I will have a completely different view of it if it turns out he should not have returned to the game and is then out long term. I'll be quite mad, but I'm going to assume he's okay because he returned and I'm happy he's okay. And I would like the Leafs to take a lesson from that because the dude's a warrior. The dude is nothing but effort. One last thing I will say about this game. Phil Kessel should have his 400th goal. Yes, it was offside. No, I don't care. I don't think I care. That offside review had nothing to do with the spirit of that rule at all. It was William Karlsson who was offside. He runs into Calle Järnkrok. If anything, Karlsson should have maybe been called for like the pick, not allowing Järnkrok to get over and defend his man. But Karlsson is standing dead still, 3 inches offside, facing away from the Leafs net. And he was pushed offside, sort of fighting for body position with a. I just don't care. That rule was put in place because Matt Duchene was 35 feet offside, and they let the goal stand anyway. That one goal, literally one goal, ruined hockey forever. Phil Kessel scores his 400th career goal against the Leafs in the game where he ties Keith Yandle's Ironman streak, and it's negated. And he gets a point and an assist anyway after the successful 6.5-minute review, and Vegas scores 30 seconds later. It's embarrassing from the Leafs' perspective, and it murdered the building. It murdered everybody watching. Not a single person, especially in Toronto, at home, where this game started after 10 o'clock, wanted that review. Offside reviews are the worst Pandora's box that we have ever opened in the National Hockey League. Well, maybe the salary cap. So, for Thursday, all I want for the Leafs to run the Sharks out of their own building, for James Reimer to hopefully not be in net, for John Tavares to be okay, and for a mix in the bottom 6 that makes sense. I think the exact lines that I mentioned make a lot of sense, especially against San Jose, where I don't think they're going to try to beat you up. I think you could probably outplay them, outskate them, outscore them. Go for it. Aubé-Kubel and Zach Aston-Reese, 2 guys who could use some offense. Give them a guy like Kerfoot. Engvall and Järnkrok, two very capable players who are sort of lacking purpose. Give them the best shutdown guy you got. The more effective they are, the more effective the top 6 will be, and the more games the Leafs will win. So that is it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. Click like if you like this video. Click subscribe if you really liked it. Tell your friends. Link down below for my Easter Seals team. We're raising money for kids with physical disabilities. Fundraising. I'm not going to ask you many more times. I promise to stop bugging you. November 10th is the fundraising deadline. Just get your donation in before then, okay? Please, for me.